I really was expecting you to show me a video from a honky tonk, so I'm like unsure how you landed at a Nirvana cover band opportunity.
It's mostly honky tonks. I've been to Nashville and it's hard not to go to those.
I think, yeah. I'm trying to think. We got kicked out of a couple places because one of our crew had a tank top on. We weren't allowed to wear tops in certain bars. I was like, I thought we're in Nashville. I don't have my boots.
What? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Nashvillians have to wear tank tops? What are you saying?
Don't have to. They just can and will wherever the hell they've been. What I thought.
Tank top.
Yeah, I know. That accent was terrible.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Customer Engagement Lab. Today's podcast is not brought to you by Yankee Candle. Instead, it's brought to you by two lovable dorks that work at PandaDoc. And before I introduce our guest, I actually have something that I need to get off my chest.
Get it off.
This interview has unfortunately been rescheduled three times, and it's all my fault. And in the process of rescheduling, I bombarded poor Kaylee with video memos on LinkedIn. Looks so unnecessary. But there was one video memo that was in my drafts and I wanted to send out, but I decided to just save it for the show.
Oh no.
So here's my video memo to say, I'm sorry that I had to reschedule this. And let me pull it up here and just share my screen.
Why am I nervous?
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I would take back those dates that have fallen through, you'd stay.
So bad.
If I could reach those DMs, I'd give you back your time. Then you'd have more hours like you used to do. If you could turn back time, Kaylee, I'm sorry that we canceled on you.
Oh, so good.
I'm sweating.
Daily, I find myself
so heavily.
Travis, I don't know how I find myself falling deeper in love with you every day. That was amazing.
So good.
You didn't send it though.
I'm really glad I didn't send that.
Do you think that it would have affected me not scheduling a time?
I think you might have been like, I need to delay.
Oh no! If anything, I think I would have felt so badly for you that I would have tried to choose like a sooner date. So you should like work that into your rescheduling strategy.
This guy has hit rock bottom. I need to make sure he's okay. He doesn't fall any further.
I just want to know your fiance sitting in the next room, what she thinks you do for work.
She thinks she's embarrassed to tell people what I do for a living. Embarrassed by me. So she just is like just a constant like disapproving head shake when these things go down. But I think she kind of like secretly also loves it.
Yeah, it sounds like schoolyard behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you rascal, you. Well, welcome to the show again, and I'm sorry that we had to reschedule so many times. Now we're ready to do a proper introduction. Welcome everybody to the Customer Engagement Lab. Today we are joined by the Director of Demand Generation at Chili Piper. She is also the wonderful host of the Demand Gen Chat podcast and is one of my very, very favorite people to talk to because of her warm demeanor, her amazing knowledge, and because she thinks the handoff process between SDRs and AEs is an absolute broken mess of bullshit. Welcome to the show, Kaylee.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
To kick things off, I wanted to dive into a clip from your podcast, the Demand Gen Chat podcast, that I just referenced in the intro. And I'm going to pull it up here. And it was right at around 3 minutes and 55 seconds. This one's for you, Patrick.
That you're going to end up getting a demo and actually seeing the inside of whatever product it is that you're seeking the solution for, only to be met with an SDR, a BDR, etc., whatever you want to call them, that asks you a series of questions, right? That likely could have been found out beforehand. It's not a great buying experience for the prospect. So anyways, we have a slightly controversial stance in that we do all of our auto qualification like directly on the form. If you're not qualified, we route you to a different destination. If you are qualified, you land on your appropriate AE's calendar based on territory routing, geo routing, whatever it is that you need, so that your solution is there, front and center. The buyer is ready. They're expressing a pain. You can solve their problem. That speed to lead, I think we have talked about speed to lead forever. I feel like it's something that everybody says a lot, but still aren't actively acting on or solving for. Actually, what sparked this idea for me to record this episode solo was an episode that Chris Walker actually put out on State of Demand Gen.
Shout out Megan Bowen.
I believe it was last week is when it was published, but it's episode 148. It's a brilliant episode. It talks about this very same topic in much more depth than I'm covering right now. He actually has a guest speaker on as well. They kind of collaborate on some of their thoughts and some of their potential solutions for how buyers in the space or demand gen marketers in this space should go about solving this very same problem.
So to give some context too, because I did jump right into the middle of this, the title of the episode, Patrick, is Are Inbound SDRs Irrelevant?
Yes.
So Kaylee, give us a little bit more context, because again, I only played the minute clip. I didn't want to play the whole episode, although we will one day, about like why you feel this way, because it's actually conversations that our demand gen team is having with our marketing team of how to focus on product-led growth, focus on what we call self-service customers who don't want to speak to a salesperson. That segment tends to be, it's like 1 to 50 business size, and they're about 80% of our current customer base. So this is it's very relevant, and I'm done talking.
Yeah. So I think there are like multiple potential paths, right? So you're talking self-service. I think in that clip, I was specifically even just talking about general like customer experience or even like prospect experience. When somebody hits your website and requests a demo, you almost always get like stuck on that page of like, thanks, like we'll be in touch. And it's like, cool. Well, obviously I'm feeling a pain right now. So can I see your product right now? Like, why is everything so secretive? Like, why does it take so long for me to chat with somebody? Like, especially today, like the people that are coming to buy software are probably some of the most like self-sourced, educated people possible, right? They've been to your website. Maybe they've consumed some of your podcast content, whatever it is, right? They've done your research. They've been to your pricing page. If your pricing's public, like they're qualified. Most people these days aren't just like jumping the gun to go and get a demo. Like most people don't want to get a demo unless they think they have to in order to buy your product. So it's just that stopgap and that experience, right? Like nobody wants to be met with this thank you confirmation page that gives you like no clear line of sight into what's happening next. Also, nobody wants to hop on a call with an SDR for 30 minutes to just get rescheduled to actually talk like a week later with the account executive so they can actually see your product. So like do your qualification up front. Like there's no reason for you to waste time.
That point right there. The first time I bought software from a B2B company and I experienced that, I was like, what the fuck is this process? I was like, why aren't you just the AE?
Right.
I was like,
why can't you show me exactly? And almost always, even as the consumer, if you ask that SDR, like, hey, I just have this super specific pain point. I understand, I'm qualified. I know what you do. I know how you can help my pain point. Can I see your product? Almost always they say no. Like the SDR themselves is not enabled to actually give you product demos. So they have to say, no, I can book time with my AE. Like, let's get some time on the books. And then at that point, you've wasted an hour.
I want to see it now.
It's the SDR industrial complex. It's the whole thing. It's Aaron Ross, predictable revenue. Everything's on its own conveyor belt. You're all doing your own pulley. I'm not trained to pull that other pulley. I can only pull this one.
Right.
That's all it is. But the problem is like everything was outbound for a long time, and then like HubSpot was like do inbound, and then that was like probably like 2005 when we started doing that. And then now we have these like two worlds converging, and they're like, oh, we still need this industrial complex, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't work because meanwhile, while I'm sitting here waiting for your confirmation page to load or your 3-day wait time or whatever for your SDR to get on the phone with me, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to all of your competitors and see who gets back to me first. So like you're losing business because you just can't operationalize your processes good enough.
The funniest thing is I worked at this company called House Call Pro. They had the best speed to lead I've ever seen. And it was the least high tech thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like they had this thing called HipChat, which was like Slack for Atlassian, and they would dump all their inbound leads into it. And there were 30 22-year-olds in a pit competing for the lead every time it came in, and they had people on shift 24/7, including on the weekends, and they would get to it immediately. Like you could never get it. Our speed of lead was like 2 seconds. It was amazing.
And then what was the follow-up? What happened after these people like crawled out of this trench to grab this lead? Then what happened?
Well, they wanted to be an on the spot. So like there were AEs also lined up. So like if you got the person, it's like, let's get into the AE right now, like dial them in. And then we would like pop it over to the AE immediately. And they would see the demo right there. And it was one of the best processes I've ever seen. And it was super low tech.
Yeah, it is very
and,
low
like,
tech.
A lot of yelling, but it worked.
I imagine it being, quite aggressive. That's how I'm imagining, like a loud sales floor with just like a swarm of people standing around like one like ticket printer or something. It's like it prints out a new receipt and you like the first one to grab it gets to like carry it to the next person.
Yeah, like, hey, Jono, come here. I got a hot one for you. Turn it on. Yeah, get it on.
Why did he just turn into like an angry New Yorker at like on a subway train?
Get it on the spot for you.
You take the ferry from Connecticut? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what it was.
New York Stock Exchange.
I gotta take the ferry to Long Island. Take the demo, Petey.
He just talks like that. He's from Nassau, Nassau County over in Long Island.
That's how you get your speed to lead up.
Sorry, Kaylee.
I wish that I can't attempt. I'm too Southern. I cannot attempt like a Brooklyn accent. It would be a total joke.
I really want to hear it. Now that you
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. It would be so bad.
I'll make the rules.
When we turn off the recording, we'll have you say like, I took my dog for a walk and then I got a coffee. We can have you try it.
Yeah, just say, hey, Jono.
So bad. I've had multiple people come up to me and say the best part about watching these last few episodes is watching Patrick butcher accents and like a train wreck just keep going. He doesn't stop. It's like he has no self-awareness that it doesn't sound good.
I got rid of the self-awareness a long time ago. I didn't feel it helped me that much. So it's okay.
New standing segment.
Bad accents with Patrick.
So this is super relevant to what me and the marketing team we're talking about this week in our offsites over in Nashville, which we'll get to later. I do have some things to share from that. But Patrick and I have been working on on-demand demo videos so that if you do want a demo, but you don't want to talk to a salesperson, you can watch one. And it's highly produced, and it's not just a screen share the entire time of somebody like in a very monotone voice with some like janky background music that's like totally zoomed out, like walking you through a 20-minute, shitty YouTube clip. We have those, by the way. We do have those.
If you really want the shitty YouTube clip, go to youtube.com/PandaDoc.
So this is something that our director of demand generation approached me and said like, hey, Travis, we want to start testing this as a way to further assist our self-serve clients and give them this option and see like, how does it affect their conversion rates if they watch this video? And does this help our pipeline at all? Because we're seeing a dramatic increase in these self-serve folks, and it's really helped keep the business afloat during tougher times. Like it just keeps kind of increasing. And that's part of our like product-led growth strategy and stuff. But I'm curious to show you just a segment of it and like get your feedback and like just kind of dive a little bit deeper into. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
It hasn't even been published yet, so
keep in
Sneak
mind,
peeks.
I was tortured to make this happen.
Oh my gosh.
Not literally, but emotionally.
Emotionally.
We flew Patrick
By
up.
Travis, right?
Oh,
No, by our video agency we work with.
Oh my god.
Yeah, poor Patrick. We flew him up to New York, and I wrote the script that he didn't read, and then just thrust him into a full production studio with like hairdressers, makeup, a director, like production assistants, the works, you name it.
they got me caught.
That's overwhelming. And that's where you picked up your really lovely New York accent.
I was trying to get to the studio and I heard, hey, Jono, over and over.
Exactly what he heard.
Yeah, it's all I heard all week.
Let me pull it up here. Bear with
But
me.
have you ever done anything like that, Kaylee? Like in a studio?
I have never, no. Like actually my fun fact, I guess, is that public speaking is like by far my biggest fear in life.
What?
Like I think I'd rather go on Fear Factor and be like in one of those spider pits or something before I stand up on a stage in front of people and talk about stuff. I don't know. It's just super stressful. So I know it's like ironic because like I do a podcast, but I feel very safe in the like surroundings of my own home. Maybe not so safe if I ever have to talk on a stage.
Yeah, and it's a nightmare. I mean, it's like I was in a studio. There was only like 5 people in there, but there's like lights on you. There was like 5 lights. They're very hot, and I hadn't read the script, as Travis says. It's on a teleprompter. I need glasses, and I don't have them, so I couldn't even see it. Like there were times when I was like, I don't know what that says, so I have to guess the words, and it just didn't come out right. So I ended up doing like 30 takes of some of these lines.
Oh my God. And you just feel very obligated, right? Like all these people are expecting you to perform at a certain level or like, you know, read the script a certain way or, you know, not stare at the camera. That's me. I'm always the person where they're like yelling, like, stop looking at the camera. But I can't help it. It's staring at me. I feel obligated to look at it. So, yeah.
Exactly. But they were very patient with me. And we actually ended up with something pretty good. But I just want to let you know a lot of sweat mostly came out of this.
Okay.
Mostly sweat.
A couple tears.
I was going to say blood and tears and sweat, but no, just sweat.
So yeah, again, the reason I want to share this is just like, this is something that our demand gen team is working on. I just thought you would find it interesting and talking about different ways to, you know, achieve these kinds of pieces of content and how it might fit into the. We won't watch all 4.
Hey, if you're watching this demo, it's because you want to see how Pandadoc's e-signature tool works, but you really don't want to talk with a salesperson just yet. As a salesperson myself, I'm totally not offended. Hi, I'm Patrick with Pandadoc, and this is definitely my real office. Okay, let's jump into a brief demo of how to use Pandadoc to request and capture legally binding electronic signatures.
This is already so good.
One of the most common e-signature scenarios we see is when you want to take an existing Word or PDF document, like an NDA, contract, or form, that you already have and make it Pandadoc ready. The supported file.
So,
are you guys sponsored by Columbia or what? It's just like a nice little like product positioning there. It's great.
It was a small oversight.
Look in the left corner behind my shoulder real quick.
Oh yeah. That's great. That's
formats
great.
you can upload include PDF, PNG, JPEG, and DocX. Something that's really useful for users like you is taking a DocX file and turning it into a customizable Pandadoc template or document. Use Convert Document, and the uploaded DocX file will be broken down into content blocks you can edit. This can be helpful.
So I'll fast forward more to the end so you can get an idea of like what the CTA is.
Be sure to ask about things like envelope limits, mobile signing experience, customer support, and document creation and editing, as those are usually sold as separate offerings and cost more to bundle. With Pandadoc, it's all in one. So that about sums it up. We hope this was really useful, and if you have some more questions about your specific business case, then it might be time to talk to a real-life human being. We promise we're nice people, and we're going to try our hardest to see if Pandadoc's a good fit for you. You can find more Pandadoc demos like this in the description below. Cheers.
Nice job, Patty.
Nice.
I like the special time outro.
That's
Do you have that one?
So Kaylee, to give you an idea, we have this one plus 4 other like specific use cases. This one was focused on people that want to accomplish or come to Pandadoc for like specifically for electronic signatures. We do have one on folks who want to use Pandadoc for sales teams and selling purposes. We have one on automated workflows, how to like just save time using Pandadoc with specific integrations. And then another one that goes over how to customize and build interactive pricing tables. So like,
and where are you going to use those or place them like throughout the journey? Like, how are you going to like pre-identify that, oh, this content will be super helpful at this stage?
That's a good question. I don't know. They were like, just make the video. I was like, okay. They're like, you don't worry about the rest. You just make that video.
That's why when I was trying to figure out like where I'm pointing, I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I'm pointing. Where does this go? Where are they clicking?
My understanding of where it'll be in the buyer's journey is we will somehow, and this is probably where we could get some cool tips from how you guys qualify leads through your kind of self-service process, is they will have to self-identify as a specific, like, why did you come to Pandadoc, or why are you interested in using Pandadoc? What are you looking to solve with Pandadoc? Maybe is a better way to phrase it. And then they'd have to select an option, and then we would just send them to one of the videos that made the most sense based on that selection. but it would be part of the request a demo form. Request an instant on-demand demo, not a book a meeting 2 weeks from now with an SDR and then book another meeting with an AE 2 weeks after that.
And this is only if like they fit certain criteria where like they wouldn't go to a salesperson, or is it alongside the option to go to a salesperson?
Right. Do they choose their own journey, or is PandaDoc choosing it for them based on their like self-admitted criteria?
You should have prepared more for this. Damn it.
It's fine. It's fine.
Good questions. And I want to say they will choose their own journey.
Awesome. Yeah. So then in that case, though, you probably will have some people like, I don't know, let's say like Nate from some great enterprise company comes and he's like, oh, I'm really not in the mood to deal with salespeople today. So I'm going to self-select that I'm small so that I can go the self-service route. And so what we do on the back end of our self-service route is we have a dedicated SDR that's just there to help service, onboard, facilitate, answer questions, and then also operates as like a liaison between like, hey, you're actually not self-service. Like we see that all the stuff you filled out on this form is actually a lie. So that's cool. We hear you. Like, we're glad you're in the product, because we do like, we'll let them right into the product. They can tinker around or whatever, but then we have an SDR that gets notified, and then he can help serve as like an actual liaison. Like, cool. But you're actually going to need to like talk to somebody, even if it's me. He's like full service, so he can, full service is not the right word. I think they say full cycle. Salespeople say full cycle. So he can actually like demo additional parts of the product, etc., and then get them to the right place. Because sometimes they self-select wrong on purpose, and then sometimes they self-select wrong because they're just like unsure of what they are or how big their company is, etc.
So that ties in nicely to what we first started talking about, which is your hot take of the inbound SDR being dead. Would this be the natural progression of like what an inbound SDR should become then for a company like Chili Piper?
I think so. Because like for traditional demo requests for us, if somebody does come and like say, I want a demo, I don't want to do self-service or like a free trial, we'll skip right over inbound SDRs, and we actually only pass true hand raiser MQLs to our sales team. So anybody that MQLs based on some random ass score where they've like visited the pricing page 3 times, we don't pass those people to the sales team, which I think is traditionally why sales and marketing teams get like a bad rap with each other, because marketing teams are measured, their success is measured based off of MQLs. So what do? We run back to like our lead scoring algorithm, and we're like, if we just like bump up all these numbers, and we're going to get a shit ton of MQLs because all these people are visiting the pricing page or visiting the demo page but not submitting or whatever. So we'll like collect all these people, these webinar leads, these event leads, and we'll pass them over to the sales team, because then we meet our MQL numbers. So yay, everybody's happy, right? Yeah. But then the sales team is so ticked because they're wasting all their time following up with these people. And that's like the role of what inbound SDRs normally do, right? Collect all these people that marketing is like half-ass passing their way. So anyways, for those reasons, we don't have inbound SDRs in that function. We only pass over true hand raisers. And then this one SDR is like the exception because he helps surface free trials.
You look like you have something you wanted to say badly.
Yeah, I'm just like,
what's that like? God, I would love that.
First of all, I want to say, yes, salespeople do say things like, that was a good job.
Yay, okay.
Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt, but I was like, oh, yes. My other point is, all those leads, how do you feel about those going to like an outbound SDR?
So we have a full team of outbound SDRs here, but they are self-sourcing their own pipeline. We did try for a brief stint. We're actually working on a piece that's like a good like exposure piece for like what we did, why it was a total failure. So I'll share that with you guys. But the too long didn't read of it is we tried that. We would like host a virtual event or attend an event or, launch a new piece of content or whatever. And we would surface those leads to our outbound SDR org. No. What we got back was like a laundry list of Excel sheets for all the reasons in which these people were a waste of time for them to follow up with. They're like, instead of me spending time trying to educate your leads on who we are and what we do and how we can help them, because they're just like not ready yet, I could have been self-sourcing my own pipeline based off of intent signals or our actual like tiered outbound account list for people that are good fits based on all of that criteria that they're judging people based off of. So If it's like, how can I best spend my time? It's like not by dealing with marketing's non-qualified leads.
Yeah. Because then the salesperson can't be like, I'm wasting all my damn time on these leads. And it's like, now the salesperson's like, you're wasting all your damn time on your own prospecting. That was your lead that you found. So I
think there's like a in between, because I agree. Every time we've like given marketing leads that are not trials or demos to outbound people, they're like, these aren't
less than 1%
either.
conversion rate.
Yeah, but I think there's like a middle ground where it's like, okay, like what's the ICP persona and the kind of company that you would usually source, and like can we find overlap between like people that have visited the pricing page and also like are within that segment. Like just
that's why it's like not all or nothing, but it's like maybe like 4% of the people that we would have passed are like maybe actually the right people.
Yeah, it's like you might want to ask the SDRs like, what do you normally look for when you're self-sourcing, and then like build a profile around that and say that, okay, if there's like a webinar lead or a pricing page within that, then we'll send it. But,
yeah, for sure. And I will say that because we have such a large outbound SDR organization, they do get those signals that sync over like automatically from our MA platform into our CRM, so that because they all work off of ROE, which I think other people would call like an SLA. But anyways, if it's within their ROE, rules of engagement, and they're already an assigned account, any contact from that assigned account that takes any of those activities, they do get an alert for that. So like to some degree, that middle ground is probably already happening. And a year ago when we tried this, what we were basically doing is just like surfacing up all the outliers that weren't already in that sync process. And then they were like, yeah, this is a big waste. So we did it 3 times. I think all 3 times were a big failure. So we stopped.
Travis, you know that notorious cold call that I've played several times in the podcast?
Yes.
The guy threatens to kill me?
Yes.
That was a webinar lead.
Hi, man. I didn't know that.
It was a gas station.
It was a webinar lead.
It was a webinar lead. The guy ended up at our webinar, but he ran a gas station. And I called him and I was trying to sell him Panda. I was like, hey, you're selling petrol to people? Sounds like you need e-signature. And he's like, I will kill.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that because I have not heard that.
I think it was like episode 2?
Episode 2, 7, 9, and 12.
Okay, I'll be sure to go back and do my homework because I've not heard that call yet. That's intense. Right, and you don't want to be passing those people to your SDRs either.
Exactly.
There's so much I want to get into. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2 with you, Kaylee.
Oh, let's do it.
But our VP of marketing, he published an article in Forbes. And I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It is, let's see. It focuses on defining from a marketer's perspective, the mid-market segment. Because like I was saying, 80% of our customers are monthly recurring revenue are smaller businesses. And I thought some of his points, and I'll pull the article up here, but I thought some of his points of how he defines it, I was like, I wonder if other marketers think similarly.
Question.
So, yes.
80% volume of accounts or 80% revenue dollars?
I think it's 80% revenue dollars.
Really?
Pretty sure. I could be wrong, so don't.
And you're saying our SMB, like 50 employees or smaller? Is that what you're saying?
That's crazy.
Primarily in like what industry?
For us, it's going to be predominantly technology industry, what's it called? Like special services agency type settings, financial institutions, HR, smaller cohorts in education. Am I missing?
Makes
anything?
sense.
Patty D. Let's see. Sorry for the delay on pulling this up. I'll edit this part out.
Yay for post.
Because I have a version of it, but it's in a Word doc, and I'm like, that's not the.
Question while you're pulling this up: do you do all of your editing? Do you have people that do that?
No, I do it all. I produce, I act, I edit,
Whoa.
I publish,
One-man band.
and I'm close to having an ulcer. Here we go.
I already.
Okay, here, let me share the screen here. Getting the right mid-market is so important from a broader business perspective. If you do mid-market right, you have a much better chance at getting into the enterprise and SMB, but the mid-market can be tricky. A one-size-fits-all approach to marketing is often a recipe for disaster. What works well for small businesses or large enterprises will not necessarily be successful for mid-market companies. They're at the sweet spot in their growth, where autonomy meets accountability, where activity, what gets done, and impact, how well it worked, perform in perfect unison together. Enterprise companies often value activity regardless of the tangible business impact. Controversial statement. They'll spend a lot of money on resources and manpower, but the day-to-day impact often gets lost. Many people in enterprise companies long for the days when things were less complicated and actually moved the needle. So the potential to bring that back to their work life can be personally rewarding. And on the opposite end, small businesses typically focus on immediate impact. They don't have the budget or the manpower to waste. So if they don't see the ROI immediately, it's generally not worth their time or money. Thoughts on that? Especially as a salesperson, I would love to know, like, when you've sold into enterprise, mid-market, and SMB, what some of these, if this resonates. Because for me, it sounds accurate, but I haven't sold to all these different segments.
Could you repeat the activity part? That to me.
Yeah, the part about enterprise, right? The part about enterprise activities, I think, is the one that was like, whoa.
Enterprise
bold
companies
statement.
often value activity regardless of the tangible business impact.
Like just overall across the company, or are we talking about sales?
I think this is generally like if you're just trying to sell something into an enterprise, whether that be a sales tool, whether that be a marketing tool.
Yeah, because typically like enterprise roles are way less activities.
I think
Like-
that's what he's saying.
I thought I got the opposite.
I read that as, I'm with Patrick. I thought that this was saying for enterprise people, they just have to do a bunch of shit regardless of what it does for the business.
Maybe that is what he means.
Because valuing activity over results means that you just want a lot of volume, and it doesn't. Really
Yeah.
Or with enterprise, it's more about like account planning, territory planning, research.
Yeah.
Careful prospecting, especially like working with an
Personalization, like above all for these people, because these are like some of the busiest people, I think. So maybe that's the activity he's talking about. Like trying to reach enterprise, I feel like is super hard because everything you do needs to be like super tailored to that individual person, not on an account basis, but like on a human basis.
He says here too, like mid-market companies are at the sweet spot in their growth where autonomy meets accountability, where activity and impact perform in perfect unison.
That's the piece that stands out to me. Perform in perfect unison, because I feel like growing pains happen in mid-market.
Oh,
So things aren't
about that.
always in perfect unison, right? This is like, okay, we've got a new round of funding. We're trying to hire like at an insane rate. So you're like trying to onboard people, but trying to scale your programs. Like, actually, I think it maybe is the complete opposite. Like, you're trying to make things work in perfect unison, but
shit's breaking.
you're like building the plane while it's flying.
Yeah, sales teams don't tend to test things before they go all in on them. Like that's a big thing I've noticed. I've seen successful sales orgs go like one at a time into things. Like if you're going into mid-market, like let's try one rep there, and do that first successfully, and then add another, and then add another.
Sounds like we're gonna need to bring Sean Herring, our VP of Marketing, onto this episode coming up soon.
Sure.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
to talk on Patrick's point he just made, I don't know if this is like a good thing or a bad thing, but we're kind of doing that same thing on a sales front. We have a team called Trailblazers, where it's like we have this ICP that we've made for ourselves that we are like, okay, it's this person with this title, this type of company, this size, like those are our people. And then it's like, okay, cool, but we actually have tons of really great companies that are like chilly lifers. They love us. They're like been with us for years, that aren't in this like very specific set of things. So we've launched a Trailblazer program where we dedicate 1 or 2 humans on the sales team to just like go after something that's the polar opposite of these like 5 criteria that we think are our people.
It's a cool approach. It's like,
And then if it works, we roll it in at scale to the rest of the team. So like 1 or 2 people just like try new land. And if that new land works, then like, cool. Then we do some enablement and pass it over to the greater sales organization.
And I very rarely give credit to Yelp. I worked there first 2 years in sales. And one of the things they did really well is like they really made sure stuff. Like we had a program that was like rep assisted self-serve that I ended up testing. They tested it for 3 years before they rolled it out to the rest of the organization. And they slowly brought like more and more teams into it before it was like fully stable. They're like, we want to see like ARR growth over 3 years before we even like think about shifting into it seriously.
Now that I think is enterprise, right? Where it's like
Maybe that's
they have the luxury of moving so slowly. Like our trailblazers don't test
they're
things
willing
for
to
years.
do 3 years of activities. Maybe that's what I'm
Right.
trying to say. Like they can do, they're just like, we need to do a shit ton of activity.
Yeah.
We don't care how it's growing on a day-to-day basis. We're caring how it's growing on a 3-year basis, and then we'll implement it.
They're more risk intolerant too. Because like if in the second year growth just died, they'd be like, all right, well, we can implement this. But then like smaller companies don't have that luxury of like trying to actually look at the risk.
They need to see
They need
immediate
move now.
They need immediate ROI. And mid-market,
Right.
it's like, I love that analogy, building the plane while flying it kind of thing.
Yeah. But that's an issue because you see that all the time in smaller companies where like they'll make these big decisions off very limited data sets, and then like a year in it's like, this actually can't scale, and we put everything into it. Now we gotta lay everybody off. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's like finding that balance, right? And I feel like it would probably be different for like every activity, right? Like what types of things are you testing, and like what level of risk is this for our business, right? Like, are we trying something that's so polarizingly opposite of our existing business strategy that like it could be detrimental to our brand? Like maybe scale back, right? So it's like almost like a needle situation where you need to like gauge your risk before like going all in so that you don't land yourself in this position where you're laying off like a huge percentage of your workforce.
I have a question about how you as director of demand gen feels and thinks about getting prospects into Chili Piper super quickly. So I'll give some context. We get people to use the Panadoc free trial, and we're just like, here you go. They just a lot of them get in there and they're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to figure out is like, what can we do from a product side and then like a demand gen side as well, of like getting them to know what to do when they get in there and stay in there, because then they're more likely to bring their coworkers in and then stay and not churn. So that's where it's something that we talked about a lot this week as a marketing team of like, and I asked, isn't that product's problem to figure out, not marketing's? And they were like, you're not wrong, but we work with them to figure out how we can get them to stay in the product.
Do you play video games at all, Travis?
I do, Patrick.
I think something that we could learn from the video game industry, and much like I feel like Slack is a good example of like a company in SaaS taking like video game economic models. Like if you look at like the microtransactions in video games over the last 10 years, Slack like copied that. And then everybody now is copying Slack. When you first get into a video game, there's a playable tutorial where it's like, all right, you go here, you press this button, it does this, do that. And then it's like, okay, cool, you did it. Now do this. Oh, okay, here's a weird scenario that might come up. And they just walk you through everything. There's tool tips and stuff in trials, but I'd like to see like a replication of that where it's like, hey, try to create a template. And then it like points you to the template section.
Like a really gamified
tutorial where like you have to actually follow the instructions and go through it. I think
that's super interesting. That's actually how we have this tool called WorkRamp for onboarding new employees. And that's actually how we onboard new employees, is we like dump them into a version of Chili Piper and have them conduct a series of tasks. However, that is not how we onboard free trialists. So most often, obviously, we have a series of onboarding emails, tool tips within, and then we have Dylan, who's this liaison or whatever for our SDR team specifically for free trials. But something interesting, person? Dylan, yes, he's real, not a robot.
I was like, That's a cool name for like a robot that watches.
No, Dylan is a real life SDR. But something interesting that we did at Campaign Monitor, because obviously before I worked at Chili Piper, I worked for Campaign Monitor. While I was there, we acquired a series of email marketing brands. So we ended up being CM Group with 7 email marketing brands underneath us. But specifically for the Campaign Monitor brand, something that worked really well because they had a huge, very thorough self-service motion was actually like getting net new prospects into the platform via a tool. So I'm sure they still have it. If we go to campaignmonitor.com/tools, they have tons of tools where you like engage from the website using a tool to help you build an email, code CSS, edit HTML, whatever it might be. And then when you're ready to like publish that code, it pops you into the platform. You've like built it in like a WYSIWYG style website-based editor, but then in order to like utilize everything you've just spent a few minutes building, you have to like hop in, sign up for the platform, and that like really helped us with product adoption. It drove 15%, just this one very specific tool within that set drove 15% of our overall like self-service business from a content piece. Year over year, like we had it for, while I was there, I think it was like 4 years running. And it was like solid 15% of self-service revenue for a really massive business.
That's wild. For Panda.com.
So that could be cool too.
That's that I think of when you were talking about that as like, so we're documents. People need and want templates of documents. That's been a huge driver of organic traffic for us. And it is a self-serve way where if you go to like edit this, like you need a template for a legal MSA, or you need a template of a proposal for a software company. You just click it, and then that's how we get them into the tool that way. But it would be cool if you were able to do some work on that template through one of our I don't know. I'm trying to think of how that might work with our existing product-led growth content model, because that's really the only thing we have is templates from a content standpoint.
But like I Google templates in my life like daily. I swear. I feel like I'm like, oh, somebody's already done it. Let me go and find a template. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's like high intent search volume. That's gotta be how you're getting a ton of your search already, right?
It is.
And landing them on a page that's like interactive, but then in order to like utilize it or download a copy of what they've just built, or, you guys know your language about e-signing documents more than I do, but in order to like send it off or whatever, then it like pops you into the platform, and that is like part of their onboarding because now they've actually built this document with you guys.
Yeah, when we send a document, it's actually called wampersmampling.
What?
Oh yeah, that sounds real.
Language, like she said, yeah, it says wampersmample on the green button when you send it. Sorry,
Travis didn't get the memo. You didn't talk to him before.
Update yet. it's V3.7.
I literally recorded like product update video last week.
It just came out today.
Okay. Ramper?
Wampersmample. It says it on the button.
Travis, keep up.
Why are you even here?
So my team was in Nashville this week, and we wanted to get together with Kaylee, who's in Nashville, and we weren't able to connect. But let me just show you a quick video of what you missed.
Oh my gosh, please. Oh no, this already looks wild.
That is our Director of Engagement Marketing, Andre. This is our Manager of Email Marketing, Nate. And yours truly right here, center stage.
Dude, you were busting out.
Dude, that Nirvana, this rock cover band was on Broadway in Nashville, and it was the band I didn't know I needed in my life at that moment. So that's what you missed out on, with some occasional.
I really was expecting you to show me a video from a honky tonk, so I'm like unsure how you landed at a Nirvana cover band opportunity.
It's mostly honky tonks. I've been to Nashville, and it's hard not to go.
I think, yeah. I'm trying to think. We got kicked out of a couple places because one of our crew had a tank top on. We weren't allowed to wear tank tops in certain bars. I was like, I thought we were in Nashville. I don't have my boots.
What? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Nashvillians have to wear tank tops? What are you saying?
Don't have to. They just can and will wherever the hell they can. What I thought.
A tank top.
Yeah, I know. That accent was terrible. I feel very offended.
I got a tank top on.
I went over to Blake Shelton's bar. What's it called? Red Dog?
I think it's just called Red.
Old
Red.
Old
There you
Red.
go. Red Dog. Come on.
Your little Red Riding Hood.
We did see the moment where like a bus of like 50 bachelorettes pulls up and like the owners of the bar are like, oh God.
Get terrified.
No, but the real thing is that like now, yeah, because obviously I'm working downtown too, but bachelorette parties come out in droves on like Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., decked out in their like matching attire, ready to go. And I'm like, what are you doing at 8 a.m.? Like there's literally nothing open for you.
Drugs.
Well, and that was our show. Kaylee, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're definitely going to have to do part 2. I actually want to do part 2 where we also have our director of demand gen come in. We do some talking shop. I'd also like to get him to go onto your show. Go check out Demand Gen Chat. Go check out Chili Piper. Big fans. Kaylee, thanks so much.
Thank you. And when you're trying to book this follow-up part 2, you should use your canned video that you didn't send last time. See if it works for you.
Time.
Voice, actually.
All right. Hope you all enjoyed this. Take care. Thanks so much.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Customer Engagement Lab. For more of Travis and Patrick's chaotic energy, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you would make our hearts smile if you left a super quick rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the show deserves. It'll take you 2 seconds, I promise. Until next time.